Welcome to our newest exhibition in our project space. This is Chris Holbrook, and it's Time and Reflection. We have Susanne Nestory, who has an exhibit also at the Art Guild at this time, but she and Chris were partners for almost 2 decades, and both were artists, and we thought this would be a great complement to her exhibition of some minimal abstract expressionist work with his very gestural drawings. These are the large drawings they did. We have to thank the museum, the Riverfront Museum. This is a collection of works on paper that are going to them. We don't know when they'll be exhibited next, so we're very excited here at the Guild. And also to his family for giving us the opportunity to exhibit all of this. We're going to start though with just a couple of these. This wonderful, very, very large abstract drawing that is just full of energy. We tease, Suzanne, that it's reminiscent of Elizabeth Murray. Some of the markings and things like that are very much like her. Can you give us a little history on some of these, or what you remember?
What I remember, I mean, basically they were made in his studio. I wasn't around when he made them. But I know that this one and this one were definitely made at the Murray Building. He had a studio on the 4th floor near, right around the corner from Jim Jenkins' studio, and there was a big wall around the corner.
Very long wall.
He had these drawings, tacked up to that wall. His studio space itself was so small. I mean, it was probably the size of this room, full of all stuff, so he needed a place to hang the work. So one first Friday, he had them all out there. But he was experimenting, I think, with non-objective work.
Yeah.
In this one and in that one.
Well, and I think the gestures are what are so incredible.
Yes,
because
being able to open his arm up.
Yes, and he was always drawing. I think I made mention that he would substitute down at Roosevelt for me. And sometimes he'd have a music class. I said, "Oh, Chris, what do you know about music?" "Nothing, but we're all going to draw today." And the same would be if he was teaching a 7th grade math class. "Well, we're all going to draw today." So I know drawing was part of that is just his ability to express himself so freely. A gesture is really full of energy and full of emotion. And then we have this piece here that is, I think, one of the strongest drawings he's ever done, which is obviously a landscape, but it is so incredible. There's so many different planes to it that it just goes, and the gestures traverse from one end to the other, literally. Do you remember why he did a landscape like this? A surreal landscape, but it is still a landscape.
Well, he was inspired by some calendar book landscape images, and he actually had a piece displayed at the Riverfront Museum for was it the Emergence?
Or was it the Chow?
The very first
Chow was the very first exhibition.
It was a big, long one, and that was all in charcoal. And I think there might have also been ink wash in that as well. And so it was sort of a transition into creating a landscape in color. And then he went from that to inventing. So this is an invented landscape. And he invented the window, too. That's a window kind of as if it's opened slightly. And basically, as I was saying to John before, it's an opportunity for him to embed different marks. I mean, he can just exhibit the range of his drawing capacity, which was amazing, And Chris, you've got gesture, you've got small little wrist precise marks, and he basically studied printmaking, and he had a very natural way of organizing and composing. So in these large drawings, I think whether it's abstract or not, his natural composition skill is just coming out
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
These are not that planned.
No, but in the same sense that there is this wonderful diagonal here and another diagonal here, just like with the window, we've got. Obviously, there are areas that our eye is going to be drawn to immediately because he's forced us to, no matter what. And I think when you look at any of these drawings, you see that obviously it was done by the same hand.
Right.
And the same mind. That
exactly.
It is, it may look chaotic, it may look like it's swirling, especially in the abstract ones, that there's lots of these marks that come around and almost meet themselves again.
Yes.
And there's a lot of erasure and then going back into it. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I think some of the finest details we have here along the border. And then we have these just wonderful color field kinds of examples where he's just really worked every color of ochre and yellow and orange and red together to really make it move. Out of lack of a better word, there's so much movement to it.
Well, he's got many sketchbooks, and in those sketchbooks he mainly worked like with colored inks and colored pencils, but there were small and they were very stream of conscious.
Yes.
He would have some embedded images and then just sweeping marks and areas of color and little edge work. But I think he, after so many of those, just wanted to put it on a large piece of paper and explore the color. And,
And I think one of the things that we both reminisced about with him was when he was doing his air drawings. And just like playing an air guitar as an artist, he would just start making these gestures in front of anything in space.
Yes,
and
it was
just
like he
do
was
it.
dancing.
And sometimes I wonder, though, if he didn't remember some of these or that moment and tried to put it down on paper. I believe these are probably two of the last drawings that he did.
Yes,
they
and
are. As we said, we don't know that they're finished necessarily, but they're at a state that you can obviously see how he organizes and how he builds his images. And these are also very landscape-ish. At least to me, they are.
I think they are landscape-ish, and I think that they kind of reflect almost like tectonic shifts or the bottom falling out, a sense of chaos, and so there might have been natural disaster that he was referencing in his mind, or maybe he was thinking of his own illness as also, informing, the sense of unknown, the sense of everything collapsing, the sense of the ground beneath his feet starting to,
Just give way.
And this could have been a way for him to explore that.
And I think also what really amazes me is there's some ink and some other different, everything he did was always a multimedia kind of idea, that it was Conti, it was pencil, it was graphite, it was charcoal, it was whatever. And I think that actually comes from his printmaking background.
Yes.
We have one print here that is not one that's signed, and I know it's not finished. It's an artist's proof or a state or something like that, but Chris was noted for having worked on something, do one print just to see how it looks and then discarding it because he either lose interest or it's just not working the way he thought it should. But this is an incredible intaglio print. And when we talk about intaglio, we're talking about a metal plate, and there's a lot of different techniques and processes that can go. We have an aqua tint, or we have an engraving, or we have an etching, even a dry point mark. All those things come together, and we have this super romantic almost background. And then, of course, we have this wonderful flying fish, literally.
And boat with arrows coming out of it.
I think I've told you that Jeff and I have the tripod fish lino cut that he did, and it's like that. It's an incredible fish, but it's an artist's proof, and there's the only thing that I know is not perfect about it is where his thumb was holding the print and he pulled it away, and there was some loss there. But this is just really a tour de force when it comes to printmaking, and printmaking and drawing are so interchangeable. They really are. Just both the the idea about what you need to do to make your image successful, as well as the processes. You can erase, you can add, you can, reduce, you can do so many things in a print just like you can in a drawing.
Well, he was always working on plates. And so, when he worked on the plate, everything had to be planned out. It was a very different process. He had to think in reverse with the
Yes.
compositions, and, the values were very hard won with intaglio. So I think, again, yes, back to this print. This print was one of the final pieces he did as a graduate student at Bradley. And so he was working on a large copper plate, and very, very, very time consuming. And unfortunately, he graduated before he was able to finish the plate. But most people would be so proud of themselves for having just this.
I adore it. I adore it in the state that it's in.
In the state that it's in. But Chris, I know, would have really gone in and manipulated and fine-tuned all of those edges. He would have spent hours and hours and hours doing that,
Yeah.
and the ground
with
behind
his
it.
with his jeweler
With
glasses,
with his goggles, exactly. Yes.
which magnified everything, and he could get those very, very small details just perfect.
But this is a good example of him laying something out. And here
Yep.
is the composition, and you can see he's got a sense of, 5 value steps going on in there, but it's the edge work that he would have gone in and literally obsessed about.
Yes, just a little bit.
Just a little
but
bit.
I think
yeah.
it is truly a wonderful statement about his abilities as a printmaker,
Absolutely.
as well as a draftsman.
Yes,
That we have,
yes.
we can see the artist touch in everything that he did, and they're very Chris Holbrook-like. Very Chris Holbrook-like.
And
So
we miss him very much, don't
we
we?
do. Oh, we do. But we are so thankful again to his family, to Susanne, and to the museum for giving us the opportunity to exhibit these works.